Welcome back to my banlist channel. Make sure to subscribe to my banlist channel, where I make content about nothing in the game except the banlist because I'm unimaginative and uncreative. We finally got our banlist. The 200th YCS is coming up and we are, weirdly enough, going to be playing under a different set of rules, and I can't say just how relieving that is. I am so happy. Now that we've had some time to reflect and let it sink in and just think about this a little bit more, obviously, based on my reaction video, which I'll leave in the description to down below, you can check that out. I just think now that we've really had the chance to think about it, it's really not as great as I think. Every banlist has that initial hype and just excitement around it, but this banlist I don't think really hit the nail on the head as much as it should have been. Without further ado, let's just get into it and see exactly what happened. First of all, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Cosmo Dark Destroyer. Now I can play Pot of Desires in my spaceship strategy. Yes, Stratos is now at 1. This card has been banned for longer than I have actually been playing this game. This card has spent more time on the ban list than Triff Gaming does to make a first turn board. I was absolutely blown away by the fact that Stratos came back to 1, and I think that's mostly because of the fact that the Yu-Gi-Oh community has created this almost divine aura around Stratos, and anything at all ever that happens in the world relating to Stratos is just the greatest, most incredible thing that's ever happened. For example, the fact that the card is now at 1. This card was extremely high impact back in the day, but I don't really know if it's going to be quite making the cut in 2018. This card is absolutely amazing with Hero Lives, but in order to compensate for the fact that Stratos is now at 1, Hero Lives got put to 1. So I don't know, perhaps it could be okay, but actually upon thinking about it and really just taking a look at some of the lists and stuff that people have been making now with Stratos, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as impactful as people think. I could be completely wrong and we could be in a tier 0 warrior turbo format, but I just think that this card is way past its time, and as great as it is, as amazing as the card is, I just think that perhaps it's probably not going to be taken advantage of as much as people think it will. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I would love to see this card do some crazy shenanigans, as long as it's not you linking, and that'll be great. Let's talk about some memes. Meme review. Don't at me, PewDiePie. Let's look at some of the memes Konami decided to bring back. Morphing Jar to 1. I've always been a fan of jar cards ever since we did Gambler Control on table 500, so it's good to see cards that discarded draw 5 are now back in the game. Card Destruction is now at 1. I can't believe this is at 1. It's almost like Snatch Steal, right? Remember when they brought that back for a format? I was like, whoops, take your monsters, Snatch Steal for game. Well, I totally deserved to win that deal, didn't I? That's kind of how I feel this card is going to be. But you know what? As someone who is an avid fan of Danger and Burning Abyss, I am more than happy to see this meme card come back. And hopefully with Card Destruction in the game, I can now discard Graf Seer Skarm and draw into Super Poly and then hard make Dante Fusion in the mirror match with your field. I'm so hyped to play this card now. Speaking of more memes, Limiter Removal has now had the limit removed. Kill me. Limiter Removal is no longer limited to 1. It is now at 2. Hey, that's a good pun, Konami. I like that. That's a good meme. Thank you. 12k attack Dark Destroyer confirmed. Now on to some of the more serious competitive hits here on this ban list. We can take a look and see that Goki got hit, and well, while some actual specific Goki cards haven't been hit, you know, because Great Ogre I think was definitely a problem card. He's a very, very strong man. So Goki obviously got a hit indirectly, I suppose you could say, with the Invoker going to 1 and also the Goblin going to 1. The Invoker going to 1 I think is very reminiscent of the fact that Invoker is a problem boy, and I think with the release of Isolde has just made it even crazier. I think in Zoo format it was definitely much of a problem as well, because one single Terratop was basically a full combo board, and Invoker has kind of always been in the middle of something a little bit silly and degenerate. It's just so powerful, and I think that in order to save it from being a problem in the future as well, they decided to just ban it, and it's so generic. I'd like to see this card ever coming back again. But maybe we'll see, and I think that's probably a very solid hit. And another hit that as well that took place was Nightmare Goblin. Realistically, everyone's saying Firewall. I get it, guys. Firewall deserves to be hit. Firewall deserves to go. I think that this plot armor, Konami don't want to get rid of their main antagonist card, so Firewall has to say in the game. I don't know why you guys always complain about this card. This card's not that good. So the only realistic next hit after that was going to be Nightmare Goblin, which is probably the most powerful Link monster in that deck outside of Firewall, because the ability for getting your extra normal summon with Iblee to bring back a Link monster, then climb into a Link 2 or 3 after that is obviously very, very powerful. And I think that these hits here specifically, that's actually the only things that have been hit as far as I can see. Those two cards, being banned is enough for Goki to be severely crippled. I don't think the deck is going to completely die off. I think there is still going to be some kind of combos available, and there's still going to be some kind of plays. I know that you can still extra link, probably, I'm sure. I swear I think I saw Duncan say it earlier. But it's so inconsistent now without the ability to have Goblin that it's very, very hard for the deck to be doing anything. A couple of FTK cards were hit, like Samsara Lotus, and a Assault Core has been limited. I didn't really understand why initially, but apparently what you can do is a Assault Core adds back a Assault Core, and then Firewall special summons that Assault Core that you just added, and then it tributes it off with Cannon Soldier, and you burn your opponent, and then that A adds back the first A, and then you special it again, and then you burn your opponent, and then you add back that A, and then you see where I'm going with this. What was that card that I just mentioned in that loop there? Firewall. Weird. That card is a problem, and it didn't get addressed. That's so strange. Oh boy, I am sure glad they hit A instead of the problem cards, and in the process have destroyed Calvin Tahan and his followers, his whole image, and anything that may be related to his hopes and dreams for the rest of eternity. I hope you're happy, Konami. Limiting A is really, really bad for anyone who actually likes ABC, because one single Called by the Grave now, or any kind of removal on your A, is essentially just going to be game, and you're going to have no more access to Buster. I'm not exactly the super greatest fan of ABC, but I'm sure there are people who really, really love that deck, and I think it is so sad for an archetype to have their card hit because of some very stupid niche FTK that no one plays and is there because of the ability for a Firewall to enable it. I don't know why, like, but just on principle, I think this is so bad, and I think that is a really, really terrible hit. Why don't you just hit the problem card? Hit the problem. Just ban Cannon Soldier. No one is out here playing The next meta deck that got hit was Sky Striker with just one singular drones going to 1, and I think that this is more of a hit to Trickstars, who have now got a couple of consistent hits as well, with Scapegoat and Terraforming now going to 2, as well as the drones. But I think that that deck is actually crippled by that a lot more than you'd think. The ability to access your Sky Striker cards is very important, Trickstar, and I would have liked to see more Trickstar cards get hit potentially, but I think this does open up the meta, because Trickstar has always been more of an anti-meta deck more than it has been an actual propellant of the meta. So I think that this deck being the best, quote-unquote, is kind of maybe good in some ways, because then it means that other decks, which are potentially just as powerful but maybe a little bit less consistent, are able to compete. So maybe we'll see a little bit more rogue topping, a little bit more niche decks getting to the forefront without Goki, because Goki was such a problem for the meta that anything that could play around Trickstar or could potentially deal with Altergeist would just be totally shit on by Goki. So with that out of the way, I think that the meta could potentially open up a lot more, and it's really hard to say what the best decks are now, but I still think Trickstar and Sky Striker are definitely going to be up there despite the drones hit. One deck that didn't get hit in regards to the meta was Altergeist. Now, Altergeist is obviously an anti-meta deck, so I think that this deck was obviously here to counter Goki, and it played all of those floodgates for it, and I would have liked to see some of those floodgates get hit, like Rivalry or Gozen, but Konami loves floodgates apparently. So I think that this deck is still a very strong contender, and probably the main reason that Burning Abyss is never going to top again. Unless you get really lucky and just don't play any Altergeists. Please, everyone just make a gentleman's agreement to not play Altergeists, okay? Why do you guys need to play Altergeist? Goki's now dead, right? We don't need Goki anymore. Goki might get like one top or something, right? It's still got that kind of power, but not that consistency. So there's no need to keep playing Goki, right? So you can stop playing Altergeist. That way, I'm able to play Burning Abyss and not want to completely want to blow my brains out. STRATOS is literally fucked. EXCITON Knight is at 2. I'm so happy that EXCITON is now back in the game, guys. Anything to make going second better is fine in my eyes, and I'm really happy that EXCITON is now at 2. I mean 1. Sorry, I just couldn't be bothered editing that out. EXCITON at 1 now means that going second level 4 decks are able to actually have a chance at dealing with all the kind of back row that is being set up by, for example, Trickstar or Altergeist, which will probably be at the forefront of the meta this format, and I think that's great. Now, I can't think of any relevant level 4 decks currently, but I'm sure there's some out there, and that's always great to see. So that's great. I love EXCITON. That card is great, and hopefully we'll see some guys. We'll see some decks being able to utilize it. I'm all on board for this. And overall, my thoughts on this ban list, well, like I said, I'm kind of just happy to have a ban list at this point. Really, that's what I'm happy about. We have a ban list now. That's what's most important. Some of the problems weren't super addressed. I would have liked to see A little bit more on Trickstar. I would have liked to seen something on Floodgates and the Altergeist cards. Other than that, I think it's okay. It's pretty good. There was a couple of meme cards, one too many meme cards if you ask me. I think Super Poly is just a little bit dumb. Like card destruction, okay. Like card destruction by itself potentially might not win you a game, depending on what you draw, of course. Like in the way that Snatch Steal, you could just Snatch Steal for game, for example, when that card came back to 1. So yeah, there's room for messing around here, but yeah, like I said, just meme cards like Super Poly should not come back. It's a below average ban list, but it's not like the worst thing ever. So I'm okay with it, and I think that it's going to be an exciting format regardless of what happens. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my ban list channel for you can get some high quality memes every other day or something when I upload. Make sure you follow my social media. Follow me on Twitch so you can watch me live. And until next time, my name has been Burial from a Different Tower. Master, peace.